Hey guys, okay, one more video. You might be like, does Miss Geiger wear the same clothes every day? Well, I record all my lessons on the first day, so that way I'm done and I don't have to worry about it. So anyway, that's why I'm in the same clothes. Okay, anyway, a little bit more on triangles. So today we're going to talk about midsegments, bisectors, medians, and altitudes in triangles. So we're going to start by talking about midsegments. So a midsegment, oh, that doesn't look very bright. A midsegment is just a line that goes right through the middle of a triangle. So this right here is a midsegment. It goes right through the middle of the triangle. Now that midsegment length is always half the length of the side it's parallel to, half the length. So one way to think about it is if you take it times 2, it'll be the same as that bottom side. So let's go to your assignment. The only reason I took geometry is because I heard there'd be pi. Get it? 3.14? Anyway. Why was 6 afraid of 7? It wasn't. Numbers are not sentient and that way incapable of feeling fear. Did you know that? Anyway. Okay, so a mid-segment is always half the length of the side it's opposite to. So this is half the length of this. So I always think about it as if I take the midsegment times 2, it would be equal to the side it's opposite. So if I take the 6 and multiply it times 2, I get 12. So 12 equals 2x, divide by 2, and then solve for x. So x would be 6. All right. So midsegment times 2, take midsegment times 2, and then it will equal the side it's opposite. So 6x times 2, 12x equals 36. Divide by 12, and then you get your answer. So midsegment times 2 equals the side it's parallel to. Okay, this one might be a little trickier. So you take this midsegment times 2. So that means you're going to have to do distributive property equals 18. So mid-segment times 2, you get 4x plus 2. So do distributive property equals 18 and then solve for x. Okay. Again, distributive property, midsegment times 2 will equal the side it's parallel to. So 2x plus 12 equals 3x, and then solve for x. Let's see, midsegment times 2 equals this side, so 3x times 2 equals 30. Midsegment times 2, 3x times 2, 6x equals 21. You will get a decimal. 22 times 2, 44, equals 4x. Okay, go to question 8. So this says the perimeter of RST. That's the big triangle. The perimeter of the big triangle is 50. Well, if I look at the smaller triangle, remember that the smaller lengths, the midsegments, are always half the size. So if those midsegments are half the size and the perimeter of the big triangle is 50, what do you think the perimeter of the smaller triangle would be? It would be 25. So perimeter means you add all the way around. So 2x plus 2 plus x plus 2 plus 4x would equal 25, not 50, because those are all half the lengths. So combine like terms, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7x plus 4 equals 25, and then you just solve for x from there. Okay, so this one gives you the different lengths, and we ultimately want to find the perimeter of ADF, the great big triangle. So it gives you the different lengths. Let's look at them. So DF is 24, so I already know this side is 24. BC is 6. Well, that's a midsegment, so take it times 2 to get the side it's parallel to. So this would be 12. And then it says dB is 8. Well, notice this piece equals this piece, so that would also be 8. So the whole thing would be 16. To get the perimeter, just add all the way around. Okay, moving on. So we talked about midsegments. Now let's talk about perpendicular bisectors. So a perpendicular bisector means it's going to form 4 right angles perpendicular. Can't do it like this. Perpendicular, form 4 right angles. And bisect means it's going to cut it in half. Then if I find a point on that perpendicular bisector and I connect, those pieces will always equal each other. So let's just look at this example. AD is 15, so this would be my perpendicular bisector. So I've got my right angles and I bisect BD. Says, do you see how I connect from A to D and get 15? What do you think B to A would be? It would be 15. Bisect means cuts in half, so if BE is 8, ED would also be 8. Which other piece do you think would be 18? Since CD is 18, BC would also be 18. So on a lot of these, you're just going to be putting them equal to each other. So perpendicular bisector means it cuts it in half and it forms 4 right angles. So let's look at this. So MO is the perpendicular bisector of, well, it's perpendicular and it's bisecting this right here, which would be NP. Use capitals. Find the length of MP. Well, what do you think MP would be? Do you see that 4.5 there? So NP would also be 4.5. Find the length of NO. What do you think NO would be? Do you see the 9.5? And then find the length of NP, which is the whole length. Well, if that piece is 3.2, this piece is also 3.2, which would make the whole thing 6.4. All right. So on most of these, you're just going to be putting them equal to each other. So 4x equals 3x plus 4. Solve for it, and then just plug in. Okay, that's something different. Okay, so we've got midsegments, which is half the length of the side opposite. We have perpendicular bisectors. Most everything you're just going to be putting equal. We have angle bisectors, which is the same idea. If it cuts an angle in half, if you connect those pieces on the side, they will always equal each other. So this would equal this. 4x plus 1 equals 3x plus 2. 3x minus 2 equals 4x minus 9. So you'll have a lot that you're just putting equal. Median. This one's my favorite, median. So a median starts at a vertex and goes to the middle of the opposite side. Starts at a vertex, goes to the middle of the opposite side. Okay, when you take the median from every single corner of a triangle. So I have this median here, this median here, and this median here. That center point where they meet is called a centroid, and that's actually the balancing point of a triangle. If I were to take that triangle and put a pencil underneath and just lay the triangle on top, it would balance on that centroid. Now, you've got some fractions. Nobody likes fractions, but I'm going to show you how to do it. These are my favorite. So this is the centroid. This says right here that AP is 2/3 of AD. So if I look at AD, this whole thing, can you tell that PD is a little bit shorter than AP? So AP is a little bit longer. It's 2/3 the length of the whole thing. Same with this BF. BP is 2/3 the length of the whole thing. And then CP is 2/3 the length of the whole thing. So probably just be better if we look at some problems. So go to number 12. So if it's 2/3, I always like to divide each piece into 1/3. So I have a third, and a third, which makes a whole. So let's look at this triangle. So AU is 16, that's on there. BU is 12, that's on there. CF is 18, so the whole thing there is 18. So So I have to find these different pieces. Okay, so let's start with UD right here. Well, can you tell that AU is longer than UD? So AU starts at the vertex and goes to the centroid. That's the longer piece. So remember, that's 2/3. So I take the 2/3 and I break it in half. So that means I have 8 and 8, which makes UD 8. So I have a third, a third, and a third, which makes a whole. So UD would be 8, and then AD would be 8 plus 8 plus 8, which is 24. All right, let's look at EU. So can you tell that BU is longer than EU? So BU is the 2/3, so that's the one I have to break in half. So if I break it in half, I have 12 divided by 2, so 6 and 6, and then that means this piece is 6. So a third, and a third makes a whole. So EU would be 6. Do I need BE? BE is way down here, so 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. That's way down there, sorry. Okay, finally UF. So it says the whole thing is 18. So if the whole thing is 18, divide it by 3, and I get 6. 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. So which is the longer piece? So the longer piece is CU, so that's the one I would break in half. So I know 6, 6, and 6. So UF would be 6, but CU would be 6 plus 6, or 12. I kind of like this stuff, do you? Okay, let's do another one. Yeah, how many do you have? Oh, just one more, sorry. You will have to do this on the Big Ideas assignment though on Tuesday. Okay, so UK is 12, and that's my shorter piece. So UK is my shorter piece, and that's 12. So this would be 2/3, so I'm going to break it in half, which would make this 12 and this 12. So what would the whole length of CU be? 24, 12 plus 12. JU. Okay, so there's DU and JU. So DU is a little bit longer than JU. So DU is the 2/3 part. So I have to take my 9 and break it in half. What's half of 9? 4.5, 4.5, and then 4.5. So JU would be 4.5. Do I need the whole thing? I do. So JD would be 4.5 plus 4.5 plus 4.5, which would be 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.5. Okay. I also need the whole length of CK, which would be 12 plus 12 plus 12, or 36. Okay. Now let's do MU right here. So it says that EM, the whole length, is 21. So if the entire length is 21, find your longer piece, which is EU, and break it in half. So the whole thing is 21, so since we're dividing it into thirds, divide by 3, 7, 7, and 7. So MU would be 7, and EU would be 7 plus 7, which is 14. All right. I don't know why, but I like that stuff. So we did midsegments, which is the middle. We did perpendicular bisector, which means 4 right angles, and it cuts it in half. We did angle bisector, so it cuts an angle in half. And then we did the median. Starts at a vertex, goes to the middle of the opposite side. So this right here, do you see how the angle is being divided in half? If an angle is being divided in half, that's called an angle bisector. This one starts at the vertex and goes to the middle of the opposite side. So that's where the centroid was. That was the 2/3 stuff. That is called a median. Since this goes straight down, perpendicular, that is called, we didn't talk about that, that is called an altitude. That's the height of a triangle. That is called the altitude. This right here, the segment is right in the middle of the triangle. So if it's in the middle of a triangle, it's called a midsegment. And then this is review from yesterday, where you're going to do the longest side, the shortest side, the middle side. You may have to go back to yesterday's to review if you need to. Let me know if you have any questions. Miss you guys.